So this is day 17 of the videos that I'm making to help raise awareness and understanding of PTSD, and today I'm going to talk just a little bit about PTSD in relation to having been in intensive care. And part of that is because having been in intensive care isn't something that people traditionally would necessarily associate with PTSD, especially if they've been in intensive care because of a physical illness rather than an accident or an injury. And also, at the moment, we're living in the days of COVID-19. A lot more people have been in intensive care than would be normally, so I think it's kind of extra relevant at the moment. And basically, people can get and do get PTSD as a result of being in intensive care. And when we actually think about what that experience might involve, that makes more sense than we might initially think of it as doing so. If you're in intensive care, you are really not very well, and quite possibly your life is at risk. So we've got that sense of life-threatening situation, and you're very helpless. Machines are doing everything for you. People are coming in at all hours. Strangers are coming in at all hours. And if you've been in intensive care during COVID, actually these are people who have got face masks on, full masks on, very hard to recognise. There's no facial interactions at all. And people are on a lot of drugs, and there are a lot of sedative drugs, and they're not always actually fully unconscious, but the drugs can really affect their perceptions. So people are in this place where there are bright lights, there's beeping, there's alarms. They're not really in control of their body, or they're not at all in control of their body. Their ability to do anything is pretty much removed. Quite often they'll have things like breathing tubes, so they can't talk, they can't move very well because they might be so sedated. Their perceptions are all over the place. There are people coming and going, and they don't know if they're going to survive. And when we think of it that way, it kind of makes a lot of sense that people would potentially experience PTSD. Having said that, being in intensive care doesn't automatically mean you're going to get PTSD. Absolutely not. But it is something that can happen. And some intensive cares are now doing follow-up where people are able to go and speak to a nurse afterwards and go back and visit where they've been, and go back and actually have a diary kept. Now, not all intensive cares do this, and I would imagine during the days of COVID, probably none of them did. But when things are more how they are, how we think of them traditionally, there are things like that where, so that you can actually go back and someone will talk you through your experiences to help you make sense of it and start to process those experiences. So it's always worth asking about that. And if you're finding, you're getting a lot of nightmares, a lot of intrusive images, things like that, don't stay silent about it. Actually go and reach out for help, because it is something that we recognise that is something that's not traditionally thought of as being a result of a trauma. We don't traditionally think of PTSD being from you've been in a hospital, because that's not how we associate it. So that's just my little bit today, and I will see you tomorrow. Okay.